The new marathon just launched a few days ago, and Bungie made a very risky decision with this one. Instead of making another story-driven shooter like the original games, they turned Marathon into a full extraction shooter. That means tense player versus player fights, losing your gear when you die, and constantly deciding if the loot you found is worth the risk of staying longer. For some players, that sounds amazing. For others, it sounds like a nightmare. So the real question is simple. Did Bungie just create one of the most intense shooters of the year, or did they completely misunderstand what players wanted from Marathon? To answer that question, we first need to go back to where the series started. Marathon is not a new game. In fact, the first Marathon released all the way back in 1994. It was also a first-person shooter, but with a strong focus on single-player storytelling. The original Marathon trilogy can still be played today for free on Steam under the name Marathon Classic. But you are not here for a history lesson. You are here to find out if the new Marathon released in 2026 is actually worth playing. And to understand that, we first need to look at the story. The story of Marathon is actually not very complicated. In the original Marathon, you play as a security officer defending a colony ship from an alien invasion. During the game, you receive orders from several artificial intelligences that control the ship. As the story progresses, it becomes clear that one of these AIs has gone rogue and started manipulating events for its own agenda. So yes, manipulation has been part of Marathon since the very beginning, not just from enemy players pretending to be friendly before shooting you in the back. In the new Marathon, the story is even simpler. The game takes place on Tau Ceti 4, where a human colony has mysteriously gone silent. Instead of controlling a single soldier, players control cybernetic mercenaries called runners. These are humans who have transferred their minds into artificial bodies. These runners are sent to the planet by rival factions. Their job is to explore the ruins of the colony, fight other teams, and recover valuable technology, while slowly uncovering what really happened to the colony. And honestly, that is all you really need to know to understand the story of Marathon. Of course, if you want to dive deeper, there is a lot of lore available. There are plenty of videos online that go deeper into the story, and you can always play the original trilogy yourself. But the real question is this: does story really matter in an extraction shooter? That depends on you. Think about games like Fortnite. Every season adds new cinematics and story elements, but most players are there for the gameplay. Personally, I enjoy feeling immersed and feeling like I am part of the world. But if story is not your thing, the lore you find in the codex might not interest you that much. But story only matters so much in an extraction shooter. What really matters is how the game actually plays. The game begins with a short tutorial where you play as one of the 7 available shells called the Destroyer. During this tutorial, an AI guides you while you fight enemies and learn the basic mechanics of the game. You learn how to loot, how inventory management works, and how limited resources can be during a run. After completing the tutorial and extracting successfully, you are introduced to the main menu. The menu looks great, but the user interface might feel overwhelming to some players at first. Progression in Marathon mainly revolves around contracts. The more you play, the more vendors you unlock. Each vendor offers contracts which are essentially missions with specific objectives. Completing these contracts rewards you with items and faction experience. This faction experience is very important because it unlocks new abilities and improvements that make your life on Tau Ceti 4 much easier. Each vendor also has a skill tree that you unlock gradually by completing contracts for them. The playable characters in the game are called shells. There are currently 7 of them, and each one has different abilities and playstyles. For example, Recon can scan the surrounding area with one of her abilities, while Destroyer can deploy a shield and fire rockets from his shoulders. Each shell feels unique, which means there is usually one that fits your preferred playstyle. Since this is an online game, there is also a battle pass an item shop and customization for both shells and weapons. When I recorded this video, the Battle Pass only included a shell skin at the final tier, but Bungie already announced that more shell skins will be added later in the season. I could spend time analysing every cosmetic in the Battle Pass, but since everything is purely cosmetic, the decision is entirely yours. If you want to support the game, you can buy skins or the Battle Pass. If not, you can simply ignore it. After all, this is a Bungie game, the same studio that created Destiny and Halo. So if you are familiar with those games, you probably already know what to expect. Yes, the game is not free to play, and it still has an item shop and a Battle Pass. But honestly, my reaction to that is the classic meme. First time? Many modern games do the same thing, including titles like Ark Raiders, Diablo, Darktide, or Killing Floor. The important thing is that everything you can buy with real money is purely cosmetic. And to be fair, the game also offers plenty of cosmetics that you can earn just by playing. Now, let us talk about the gameplay itself. Since this is a Bungie game, the gunplay feels extremely good. The shooting feels tight, responsive, and impactful. This is easily one of the strongest aspects of the game. Personally, I love how the guns feel. They have weight, and they hit hard, especially if your opponent only has a basic shield. If you played Destiny before, you will probably feel very comfortable here, because many weapons feel similar to those games. So how does a typical run actually work? Like in most extraction shooters, you start by preparing your loadout. You select weapons from your vault and place them in your inventory, along with ammunition, grenades, and consumables. There is also a layer of build crafting because every weapon can be modified with different attachments. Attachments come in different rarities, and they directly affect the strength of the weapon. In Marathon, every weapon starts as a basic grey tier weapon. The attachments are what improve the weapon and determine its quality. Of course, you can also customize your weapons and shells with skins, stickers, and charms. These are purely visual and do not affect gameplay. So if you are the type of player who just wants to jump in, shoot enemies, grab loot, and extract, you can absolutely do that. Once your loadout is ready, you can queue for matchmaking or play solo. You can invite 2 friends or let the game fill your squad with random players. The only exception is the shell called Rook, which is designed specifically for solo play. Once you enter a match, the strategy is simple. Drop into the map, complete your contract, collect valuable loot, and extract safely. At least that is the idea. In reality, things are rarely that simple because almost everything in the game wants to kill you, especially other players. There are several maps available, and I recommend playing on the maps where your contracts take place. Most primary contracts work on any map, but later contracts often require specific locations or objectives. The maps feel quite different from each other, and one of them even includes an environmental hazard that forces you to hide in safe areas to avoid taking damage. Some players dislike this because it limits movement, but personally I think it keeps the gameplay fresh. If you played Ark Raiders and got used to players saying "do not shoot," Marathon will feel like a reality check. Most encounters are shoot on sight. Players rarely communicate through voice chat and usually prefer to communicate through gunfire. The game can be very intense and quite sweaty, especially at higher levels. Bungie is also planning to introduce a ranked mode, which shows how serious they are about the competitive side of the game. My advice is simple: do not let gear fear control you. Use your equipment, take risks, and go out guns blazing. That is the best way to improve. You will not extract every time. You will not always save your teammates, but that is part of the experience. Just keep going. After each run, successful or not, the story progresses if you completed your selected contract. Primary contracts also contain small story elements that lore fans will definitely enjoy reading, but gameplay alone does not define a game. Marathon also has a very distinct visual style. The visual style of Marathon can be very polarizing. Some players love it while others absolutely hate it. I have rarely seen people feel neutral about it. The game uses very bold and vibrant colours that immediately stand out. Personally, I think the art direction fits the futuristic setting very well. Performance is also quite good. At least in my experience, the game runs smoothly even at maximum settings. From what I have seen, the console versions also perform well, and so far there have not been many technical complaints from players. The sound design and music are also excellent. Gunshots can be heard from far away, which means you will often attract other players during fights. Third parties happen very frequently, especially on smaller maps like Dire Marsh and Outpost. Footstep audio is also extremely important in this game. In fact, footsteps are so loud that sometimes I even scare myself during solo runs when I suddenly hear my own character moving. During quieter moments, the game sometimes plays background music that helps you relax while still maintaining that futuristic electronic atmosphere. Speaking of music, I actually recommend checking out the official soundtrack for this game. It includes most of the tracks you hear during gameplay, and honestly, it sounds fantastic. So, with all that in mind, there is only one question left. Is Marathon worth playing? If you enjoy extraction shooters, tense player versus player encounters, and that constant risk and reward gameplay, where every run matters, then yes, absolutely. Bungie clearly knows how to make weapons feel satisfying, and that alone carries a huge part of the experience. However, if you are expecting a more relaxed shooter or something closer to Ark Raiders or Destiny, Marathon might feel too punishing. This is a sweaty game and it does not really try to hide that. There is definitely a market for this type of experience. The real question is whether you are part of that audience. Personally, I had a lot of fun with the game and I am still playing it right now. For me, Marathon is absolutely worth playing and worth the price. The game feels great and runs well on both PC and consoles, so performance should not be a concern. You will die a lot in this game. The AI can be unforgiving and enemy players are even more dangerous, especially if you play solo. But with enough practice you will improve, and eventually you will become the player everyone else is trying to avoid. And that wraps up this video. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking the video and maybe even subscribing to the channel. Thank you for watching and I will see you in the next one.